Hi and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be going over the basics around a Chapter 13 bankruptcy here in the United States. So let's get started. What is a Chapter 13 bankruptcy? A Chapter 13 bankruptcy, sometimes called a wage earner's plan, is a bankruptcy that instead of liquidating all your assets, you create a plan in order to repay your debts. Generally, your debts are paid off in a time period frame of about 3 to 5 years. And again, you do not liquidate your assets, but you do need to have a plan to address the debts that you currently possess. Who can file for a Chapter 13? So individuals with a steady income and the ability to potentially repay those debts or have a reasonable amount of debts for their income are eligible to apply. Individuals that have not filed for a Chapter 13 in the past 2 years or a Chapter 7 in the past 4 years. Another stipulation is that the individuals who are applying for a Chapter 13 are current on their tax obligations, so that they've been filing yearly. So there are also some debt limits. So your secured debts, and those are debts that have collateral, can't exceed in the value of $1,362,875. For unsecured debts, so you're thinking like personal loans or credit cards, it can't exceed $417,325. And again, these are the limits for 2023. There are also additional limitations on the types of property or assets and the value of those property and assets within your estate. What happens in a Chapter 13? Well, first thing you do besides contacting a bankruptcy attorney is that you file a petition. And when you file a petition, you are listing your current income, your current assets, and your current debts liabilities. You also generally will include a general plan for how you are looking to organize your debts and pay off. When you file this petition, it creates what is called an automatic stop. So your creditors are supposed to no longer contact you about collections for the debts that are listed or available to be discharged through a bankruptcy. And so if you get those phone calls or those letters, etc., then you contact them back and let them know that you are starting a bankruptcy proceedings. And that way they too are on the look for your court date to start the process. Next is the meeting of creditors, and this is where creditors will get more information about your current financial status and therefore come up with a plan of what they are willing to forgive or what type of terms they are willing to agree to, etc. Then your bankruptcy attorney will help you in creating a repayments plan. And again, this is generally like 3 to 5 years that will satisfy the majority of your creditors or include whatever the creditors contacted was acceptable terms for them. This will then go to a confirmation hearing, which is where the judge will review the plan, ensure that it meets all stipulations, and then that it's fair to your creditors. Once it is agreed, it becomes a law-binding contract. So therefore, the creditors are now legally binded to accepting the terms that were agreed upon. So the repayment period, which is generally about 3 to 5 years, is where you make monthly payments to a trustee that is judge appointed. So this trustee will then take the amount of money that you are sending to them and distribute it amongst loans or the creditors based off their priority list and the way that the plan is written. So after completing the payment plan, whatever eligible debts that remain are then discharged, and that means that the individual no longer has the legal obligation to pay those remaining debts. What are the credit implications for filing a Chapter 13? So a Chapter 13 will remain on your credit report for up to 7 years. Because it is a debt repayments plan, it has a lower duration and a lower negative impact than a Chapter 7 because you are technically satisfying your debts. It just might be on different terms for 3 to 5 years. The amount that your score can potentially drop is really dependent on a couple of factors, also just based off of what your current score was at the time of filing. So if it was already low, then it's not going to make it that much lower, but if it was like okay, it may drop to bad. And generally this is temporary in the sense that after a couple of years, you are able to get more loan products, credit cards, etc., and rebuild your credit score. So what are the benefits of a Chapter 13 bankruptcy? Well, the first is that no liquidation is generally required. So I say generally because it is possible that if in your retirement accounts for a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA exceeds the exemption limits for your particular state or for the federal government, then there is a chance that they may require you to take some money withdrawals out of those accounts to pay off your debt, but this is not always the case. And again, it is based off of state exemptions. There are some states that make it where you just don't pull from your retirement accounts at all. Lower overall debt repayment. Those who file a Chapter 13 generally pay less than the full amount that they originally owed. It stops creditor harassment. So if you file, then you have that automatic stay. So those collector agencies will no longer have the legal authority to contact you over those debts while you wait to settle it in the legal process. Rebuild your credit faster. So once you start this process and get it going, it is generally quicker for you to rebuild your credit than if you had continued to not make payments and let your score tank even further. What are some of the cons to a Chapter 13 bankruptcy? One is strict adherence to the plan. Failure to make payments may cause for your bankruptcy to be dismissed, or it could potentially cause for your bankruptcy to be converted into a Chapter 7, meaning that you may potentially then have to liquidate some assets in order to meet the obligations that you agreed to with your original confirmation. Monthly payments. So by starting a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, you are agreeing to monthly debt payments for a minimum of 3 years to potentially 5 years or more, depending on how you structure that plan. Lastly, it could be costly. So there are legal and administrative fees attached because, again, you do have to get an attorney. So it could be potentially expensive just because you have emails, you have a lot of creditors that an attorney has to reach out to, etc. So make sure you know what type of payments plan you are also getting into when you select your bankruptcy attorney. So what are some alternatives to a Chapter 13 bankruptcy? The first potential alternative is getting credit counseling. So finding a professional who can evaluate your situation and make some suggestions in order to kind of better reorganize your debts to see if you can pay it off with your current income without having to necessarily contact all your creditors to have restructuring. Another thing is that a Chapter 7 might be an alternative. A Chapter 7 is quicker in terms of duration. It will discharge those debts. And so if you don't have a lot of assets to lose, then a Chapter 7 just might be quicker than going for a Chapter 13. Debt consolidation. If your score is good enough, you might be able to avoid having to go through bankruptcy by instead going through debt consolidation and taking out a personal loan to condense the number of payments, etc. If you want more information about debt consolidation, check out this video. Now, before you file a Chapter 13, again, it's super important to get in touch with a bankruptcy attorney. They can do a consultation with you and look and review your current numbers and picture and see if maybe that is a route that would be beneficial to you. They also will be able to refer you to people local to you that can assist you, such as CPAs, credit counselors, financial coaches, financial advisors, etc. It's all dependent on your individual circumstances. So yeah, that's the basics around a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. I hope you found this video helpful. Do me a favor, give it a like and share it. For those of you who are subscribers, thank you for tuning in yet again. For those of you who are not subscribers, I hope you found this video helpful. And if you did, please consider subscribing. In this channel, I do videos breaking down personal finance topics such as bankruptcies and more. And I also go over my personal debt tale. So if those type of videos hold interest to you, then please consider subscribing. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!